1. Idi Amin. Idi Amin Dada's despotic rule in Uganda was infamous for egregious human rights violations, including torture and mass executions. He proclaimed himself president for life, enriching himself while plunging the nation into poverty and chaos. Amin's regime was marked by brutality, ethnic persecution, and suppression of dissent. His expulsion of Asians led to economic collapse. Deposed in 1979, he fled to Saudi Arabia, where he lived in exile until his death in 2003. Despite his reign of terror, Uganda struggled to reconcile and heal from the wounds inflicted during his rule. Amin was buried in Saudi Arabia, far from his troubled homeland. 2. Jean Bedel Bokassa. Jean Bedel Bokassa's autocratic regime in the Central African Republic was marked by brutality and excess. He declared himself emperor, squandering vast sums on lavish coronation ceremonies while his people suffered in poverty. Accused of human rights abuses, including cannibalism, his reign ended in 1979, replaced by democratic rule. Bokassa died in 1996 and was buried in the Central African Republic, despite efforts to bury him in the former imperial palace. 3. Mobutu Sese Seko. Mobutu Sese Seko's dictatorship in Zaire, now Democratic Republic of the Congo, was characterized by corruption, repression, and economic mismanagement. He amassed immense personal wealth while the country languished in poverty. Under his rule, dissent was brutally suppressed, and opposition figures were silenced or exiled. Mobutu promoted a cult of personality, renaming the country and himself. His reign saw decay of infrastructure and institutions. Deposed in 1997, he died in exile in Morocco in 1997, where he was buried. Mobutu's legacy is one of plunder and despotism, leaving a fractured nation struggling to recover from his tyrannical rule. 4. Macias Nguema. Macias Nguema's dictatorship in Equatorial Guinea was marked by brutality, repression, and economic ruin. He instigated a reign of terror, orchestrating mass executions, torture, and forced labor camps. Nguema's regime stifled dissent, destroyed institutions, and impoverished the nation despite its oil wealth. He promoted a cult of personality, declaring himself unique miracle and ruling with absolute power. Deposed in a coup in 1979, Nguema fled to exile in nearby Togo, where he died in 1979. His remains were later repatriated to Equatorial Guinea, where he was buried in Mongomo, his hometown, amidst continued controversy over his legacy. 5. Pierre Nkurunziza. Pierre Nkurunziza's presidency in Burundi was marred by authoritarianism, political repression, and violence. He clung to power despite widespread protests and international condemnation. Nkurunziza's regime cracked down on dissent, leading to arbitrary arrests, torture, and extrajudicial killings. His decision to seek a controversial third term in 2015 sparked a political crisis and widespread unrest, resulting in hundreds of deaths and displacements. Nkurunziza died unexpectedly in June 2020, reportedly from a heart attack. He was buried in Gitega, Burundi's former capital, amidst tight security, leaving a legacy of division and instability in the country.